Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on network isolation in ASE. So ASE is nothing but an application service environment. So before digging into this ASE, let's network isolation in ASE, let's try to understand what is ASE basically. See, app service environment or ASE is an Azure App Service feature only. Like previously, we have used that app service is used to deploy web apps, mobile apps, API apps. So this is a feature of same app service that provides the fully isolated and dedicated environment for securely running the various apps at very high scale. See, we need to understand that okay, when we use the app service or function apps, so in those cases, when we deploy such a web apps, so we are not getting any kind of dedicated or isolation from the other tenants which are there in the Azure. So we are getting a kind of a shared environment in that case. But there are some workloads or some application which would be processing highly sensitive data, or you need to have some workload for which you don't want to that exposed to the internet. You can use such kind of workloads and by hosting your web apps within the ASE. So in that we get a network isolation in the ASE. So we'll see how the customers can get an isolation and by deploying it in a virtual network. So before digging into further, it is very crucial to understand that okay, we should understand what does ASE is. So in other words, you can think application service environment which we are using can be thought of as a private deployment of your Azure web apps in a customer controlled virtual network where you have full controls. You can deploy the web apps within a virtual network and use the features of virtual network and basically access the other resources via the private endpoint only. Basically, the web instances, or you can say if these are the virtual machines or these are the web instances in ASE, they get basically a private address from your VNet only because app service environments are deployed within the virtual network or within the subnet only, and they have access to the virtual network resources. And all the traffic to these applications arrive from the virtual network only, where your ASE is basically deployed, and there is no direct access to a public endpoint till the point you use a reverse proxy, or in case of Azure, you are using the application gateway. So basically, we'll be using application service environment for workloads like you can say certain applications which are using the expense reporting system, HR system, or they are processing some highly sensitive data. And ASE basically are isolated to running only a single customer workload or application and always deployed into the virtual network only, like here we have seen. And customers, they have fine-grained control over the inbound and the outbound traffic which will flow for the application. So in this case, basically, except for the ASE, all tiers run on your apps on the shared network infrastructure. And so that is why first we need to understand, like we discussed that, okay, app service environment can be used for the environment which need to process some highly sensitive data or some, let's say, for some government websites. So you can use it both for the internal as well as external facing. So we'll not dig into much deeper details. You can go into the Microsoft documentation to study that how can you use it for the external facing and external facing. I'll also provide the link for that. Now, whenever we use the app service within the Azure, so or we get a shared resources like internal load balancer or other features, and we are not will not be able to use the NSG features to basically control the inbound and outbound traffic. So when you deploy your Azure app within the virtual network or within a subnet, so with the help of which you can apply the NSG, you can control the inbound and outbound traffic, and you will get a complete isolation. So the isolation of apps from the internet. So internal app will be served via the ILB, because if you're using the other app service or other app service plan, you get a shared load balancer and all those things. But here you are getting a dedicated load balancer, which will be getting a private IP address from your virtual network only. So in that case, you can say of it a kind of a dedicated environment you are getting. And in case your web app is hosting, served external traffic as well, so in that case, you can use a web application firewall. Basically, with the help of which you will be able to protect various kind of attacks like SQL injection and all those application level attacks and DDoS protection. You can use the WAF as well. So in this way, only the valid request will go to your web application or applications which are there in the application service environment. So this is it in this lecture, friends. So in this lecture, we discussed about what is ASE, what kind of workloads we can use within the ASE, right, or web apps for hosting or using the ASE environment, basically to process sensitive data, and how we can use the WAF to protect any kind of SQL injection or any kind of DDoS attacks. So thank you, friends. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture.